This is my favorite part. News is done, business is done, sports is done. It is time for the bench. And my guests have been sitting here very patiently because they know it's a very important topic about effective leadership going forward. Sicily Kariuki was a CS, Cabinet Secretary in Uhuru Kenyatta's government, and Samuel Poghisio was a minister back when we had ministers in Mwai Kibaki's government. Good to see you both. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you for having us here, Jeff.
Thank you.
We
need some leadership, we need some sanity, we need something. And the vetting begins tomorrow. A whole new round of vetting.
Indeed.
What was it like when you were being vetted, Mush?
Well, Jeff, thank you. Always a pleasure to be able to be here to share my experience. It's really my experience. It doesn't make it right, but my experience all the same. And hopefully by sharing my experience, somebody is going to be able to turn my experience into actionable knowledge, which they can apply in their own situations. Currently, I'm a leadership coach, specializing in emotional intelligence practice. And therefore, just also pulling that and bringing it together to be able to say, so if you exercise leadership in the absence of application of emotional intelligence, can you really be an effective leader? And I bring the two bits together and speak to leaders, not just in the public spaces, but in spaces like where you are as well.
Was it tough when you were being vetted?
It was tough to the extent that you really needed to demonstrate your expertise, pull together the experience that you're bringing together, but importantly, project the vision and the value add that you'd be bringing to the ministry or the department that you're nominated to go and lead.
Yeah.
Tough to the extent that you needed to be confident enough to actually convince a whole panel that you knew a thing or two in terms of where you wanted to move towards. Tough enough to be able to say that you understand the dynamics around leading, particularly leading people, because when you're called to cabinet at that level, it ceases to be so much around things and processes. It is a lot more around people, inspiring them to perform in the direction and the speed that you will set as a leader.
Was it the same for you? Was it tough? Really?
Jeff, first of all, thank you for having us on the bench. And you see, I wasn't vetted. We were not CSS to be vetted. We were definitely the ministers of that time. It was a parliamentary system, and we were members of parliament at the same time, ministers. Sicily and her friends came in when they were taken from outside of the political, from parliament.
Correct.
So here I was, member for JKLive. No, member for JKLive. As a member of JKLive and also Minister for Information and Communications. And of course, my situation was that I was literally pulled from what I didn't even expect. You know what drew us to this cabinet at that time?
Go on.
You remember it was during the clashes, right?
Yes.
2007, 2008. And my party decided to join with the government at that time. My party leader, Kalonzo Musyoka, then brought me on board as a cabinet minister. So it was a bit difficult because we were in a situation at that time Kenya was at war with itself. And it was my responsibility to deal with you guys, the media, and that time the media was kind of going crazy. I mean, live coverages, we were having problems with Kenyans and Kenyans with themselves, and I had to take care of that. It wasn't easy, as you recall. I faced some difficulties at some time when the media, you guys, decided Poghisio must go, and you know, and now
so it's nothing new. There's nothing new.
Nothing new, but I persisted, and of course we were able to work together with the media, and that's the most difficult thing. If you can work with the media for 5 years, that was quite an experience.
Yeah. Gives you tough skin.
Gives you tough skin.
Yeah. Was it what you have witnessed the last month or so in this country? What does that tell you about what's going on, the state of the nation?
Well, it's really unbelievable. I mean, it's a point that I haven't seen. I may not have the kind of experience my brother here has, but it's still very interesting to see that suddenly when you have a government that is running and an opposition that is supposed to hold a government of the day accountable, quickly merge into one amorphous thing. You know, it's really something. It's also really something to say that a leader is one that inspires people, followers, to actually follow them. because they believe in their vision and they believe in the destination where they want us to finally land. And therefore, for the young people, the Gen Zs and the millennials to decide suddenly, you know, that vision, perhaps we believed in it. Right now, I'm not so sure that we are going to land. And therefore, we're going to be loud. And we're going to be louder. And we'll even be very loud. I mean, I haven't seen that. You will recall that when I moved to cabinet, I was also responsible for a docket that I was responsible for youth affairs.
Yes.
And these are nice buddies. I mean, they're nice. They're asking to be listened to. They're asking to be engaged. They're asking to be empowered. They're asking for you to give feedback that, yes, your views matter. Never mind, the time may not be now. They're just asking to be engaged. Nice young people, our children. And therefore, I spend enough time, actually, maybe 40% of my time running the docket, which had 3 departments. Most of it went to the young people because they want to be engaged. They want feedback. They want face-to-face. They want. Suddenly, we've realized, yes, we'll engage them. Never mind, it could be the X space, but we've engaged them anyway. That's what they've been asking for. And therefore, seeing them come out in a manner that they have come out, for me, as a parent, as a mother, is given me a lot of joy. Saying that suddenly, you know what? Please listen. We don't believe in where we are finally going to land. And we are saying, when you land and you're landing with us on our behalf, it needs to look this way. Yeah. That's what they've been asking for.
Was it, you just mentioned 2007, 2008, which was probably one of the lowest moments in this country's history. Correct. No doubt about it. Compare that to what we've been seeing in the last month or so. It's
the same dynamics. It's very bad for a country. It's the imagery we're getting internationally is terrible, and now we look like we're killing our own people who are protesting, and that protest is, as I say, is constitutional. And so I do believe that we're in the same. We got condemned that time as well internationally. We could not manage our internal affairs, and now we're also being condemned. And I was following the other day the United Nations now saying, you must manage your police. Why are they shooting?
They're in Haiti.
Not all of them.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
But Jeff, the reality of this matter is a communication problem.
Yeah.
We don't get it. You see, the youth are speaking, but we don't get what they're saying. Our ears are either very old or we don't understand what these young people are saying. The things they are saying is that we like to see accountability, and they want to shout loudly. And when we're given a chance in my generation to organize that, we go back to our old ways. The only way we know how to organize politics in the country. So we go back to, hey, where is Jeff, my friend? Where is Sicily? We need to come and reorganize ourselves. And it's just us talking to ourselves. And I think we need to be more creative than that. And I look forward to tomorrow, because the presentation we are making tomorrow is, these are still my friends. I bring them to the table. Can you vet them for me? And that's a not a very good attitude for selecting leadership, by the way. Yeah. It's not a very good, but so today, if I were to be told to join this government, and of course anything is possible, and I wasn't there when the vision was being relayed to the people, because let me tell you, what we have in this government and many other governments is, what we have now is what I call the trust deficiency or deficit, a trust deficit. How you rebuild that trust is the question of the day. That's the elephant in the room.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, that trust deficit is so big, and we are not getting it, Jeff.
We're not getting it.
We're not getting it.
And it's true, what Minister was saying, that we're not listening to our youth. Why aren't we listening? Is it because we think, I need watoto, watch out now? So,
in my experience lately, if you suffer from a syndrome called hubris syndrome, you can't even tell what it is. You are hard at hearing. You listen to hear, not to understand. It's really a syndrome that we must, as leaders, come and say, might we be suffering from something that we don't understand? And I think that is where we are at. Once you're done, it's fine. I go to my default and I do things as.
So I'm taking my own advice.
No, you absolutely. I mean, you're right. Yeah. You're okay. I didn't solicit your advice. I mean, who asked? I know, kind of conversation. But importantly, Jeff, for me, is to say the conversation or the words, the key words that I've heard in the last 1 month, accountability, because corruption is through the window, through the roof. the leadership has confirmed. So we want accountability, more accountability. We want people who mess up with public resources held accountable. Trust, the minister just said, a trust deficit. The minute your followers don't trust you, then there's a problem. Public sector, private sector, church, wherever, home, wherever. The other key word that I've heard consistently, listen to understand, where are you landing? Where are you coming from? Where are you landing? Are you doing that? I've been in this studio before and I've talked about a leader who does not exercise empathy isn't a leader that is effective to carry us to the other side, whatever sector, whichever sector you are in. And so I think these are some of the missing parts to complete the whole, for you then to say, you know, here I am. But let me come back to the question of what will be happening tomorrow, the vetting process.
Hold on, hold that thought. I'm going to come to that because I want to find out from both of you.
No problem.
If you're in that seat, what are you looking for? I want to find out. What should we look out for?
Which seat do you want us to sit on?
That nominee seat. What would you look out for? You know, are these people going to pass muster? Already we're hearing Oparanya, EACC is complaining about Oparanya. Already. He hasn't even entered the National Assembly. And other things as well. And going forward. By the way, that life coach lessons of yours, maybe you should take them down the road.
I'm working with ministers elsewhere who think they need it because, again, you know, actionable knowledge.
Nothing wrong with that.
Not a problem. But let me come back to you, Jeff.
Hold on, we're going to take a break, come back and talk more.
Okay.
Sicily Kariuki, former CS, Samuel Poghisio, former minister, are talking to us about effective leadership. Listen up, people. Listen up, wherever you are. These folks have been there, done that, maybe even got the T-shirt. What do you think? Keep tweeting at Koinange Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is JKLive. JKLive takes a break. We'll be back in a moment. And welcome back to Jeff Koinange Live here at Citizen Television on the bench, talking about effective leadership. What makes a good leader? Former minister, or rather, not former, but he was always minister under Kibaki's government, Samuel Poghisio, is in the house, all the way from Kachaliba. Do you know where that is? And of course, Sicily Kariuki, Sicily with an S, former CS in Uhuru Kenyatta's government. I always wanted to ask this question, and please answer it for me. Is one a born leader, or does one acquire leadership? How does that work? Because there's some natural leaders. From day one, you know, this person is going to be a leader. Is that true, or?
There's some truth about it, Jeff. But it's also true, you ought not to be born a leader. You can become an effective leader through acquiring knowledge, through practicing and exercising leadership in the manner that you're taught, you're mentored, you're coached. And so it really depends. But of course, it rubs off. If you're born into a home where your father, for example, was a political leader who rose to be a minister, you're already having a head start. If you're born in a small village like I was born, where the leader that I knew was perhaps a clerk in a tea factory, and that was the leader that I knew in my family, it meant that you really had to work a lot harder to exercise leadership in an effective manner. You had to lead, you had to go out of your way, you had to try and fail and wake up and try again and fail and wake up and try again. So, yeah, it's a combination of both.
Mr.
Really.
Minister, you agree?
No, I agree, but you grow into it in a way that you don't understand. But the day when the time comes for you to step onto that role, then you will know that it's been work in progress. Some people begin to notice when you are younger, even at home, in the domestic situation, in high school, at the university, you begin to see.
You're a prefect, you're a head boy, or whatever. Yes.
But sometimes you're just a good servant. I mean, you just find yourself serving, either for the family or whatever, among your peers. They can see that this guy likes to serve. And so you grow into the situation, but one day, either by intention or somehow by things just lining up, you end up being a bigger leader, a recognized leader, political leader, whatever leader it is. Of course, I had no idea that I was going to be a political leader.
You didn't?
I didn't have.
What was your goal? What did you want to be?
First of all, I grew up in a situation where it was actually very exciting to stay at home and look after cows. and that was or goats where I was. And I normally tell the story of my mother. she's 96 years old now, who actually never went to school herself. She can't read or write, but picked me up from my running away and took my hand and took me all the way to the school and handed me over to the headmaster and said, this man, this boy, must stay in school. And it wasn't a peaceful walk to the school. I mean,
she beat you all the way there.
All the way to the school.
Yeah.
And I tell you, that changed my life, and I vowed to stay in school to the very last. And that's how I went to school all the way to university.
God bless that woman. God bless that woman.
Who didn't even go to school at all. But this is the situation. As I was growing up and seeing the need to change what was going on, the pain of seeing the Pokot people, first of all, in the cattle rustling, in the killings that were around there. I tell you this, one day we woke up to the news that one village in Kacheliba, is called Chamakan village, had been attacked by the Karamojong, and 80 people in the village had been dead, shot, killed, children, women. That's the year I decided I was going to run. I was going to run. You remember, I had already been in parliament, but I'd gotten out to go to the academia. Yeah. But when that thing happened, I was at Daystar University teaching. That happened, and I decided to quit my teaching, and I went to run for member of parliament, Kacheliba, to try and write this thing. Why would anybody be looking to kill that many people? What is it that they don't get? How can they retreat from that and change? And I knew I must go and champion education. Yeah. And that was going to be the thing that would sort it out.
Speaking of change, Madam CS, some leaders are brilliant before elections. You can see them, they are the ultimate, penultimate politicians. Once they enter that seat, I don't know what it is, it's intoxicating or something, they change. No names mentioned, but they change.
I don't think they change, Jeff. Tell you the truth. They had no intention of doing right. They had no intention. They used good language. Well, in the heart of hearts, they knew that they were not going to actually live to the commitment that they were making to the people. All they wanted was to get the votes, sit on the high table, trappings of power, and that's it. Forget about it until the next cycle. They'll come again with enough excuses. So they had no intentions. But let me challenge us to think about leadership, being born, a leader being born or otherwise, and to say that we need to start distinguishing the difference between an effective leader who leads for impact and a leader who leads for the sake of leading. And the category you speak about is somebody who wants to be a leader for the sake of being a leader. That is the end. And therefore, cheating becomes commonplace. It is said for an effective leader, if we say that is the optimal, that is the ideal, we would want to see leaders who are effective because they are leaving a positive impact and a legacy that far outlives them. That leader survives on two parameters. One is competence. They must be competent. And competence contributes only 20% of your effectiveness as a leader. 80% is character, integrity, value, impact you want to drive, accountability, trust, credits, and all that. That is a character. And so I think that as we move forward with our civic engagement in terms of an effective leader, whether it's a politician you're electing or you just enjoy being lied to, you must be able to question these two. Are they competent to a point of 20%, if you will, or close by? And what is their character? It is more important. Because if you're a leader of character, you won't get on top of your vehicle to lie to just get a seat and sit on it. This is what is ailing Kenya in terms of matters political leadership. You knew you're lying. I laughed the other day when I saw a cartoon of a leader looking for votes and saying, when you vote me in, I'll stop eating meat. I'll stop being I will become
there were wolves,
a vegetarian.
Sheep all around. I saw that.
That is what we are. You actually know. You're lying. Jeff.
Mr. Minister, your boss was very hands-off.
I've had many bosses. I don't know what you're talking about. Which one?
President Kibaki.
Okay, yeah.
He was very hands-off. He let you guys do your thing, and then if you succeeded, it was well and good, but if you failed, you had to answer to him.
Exactly.
Is that leadership?
That is delegation and trust. You know, we had regular what you call ministers' meetings, what you call
the cabinet
meetings. And during that time, we had a very interesting secretary, or the permanent secretary, who was leading all that, Mzee Mudaura. And he had control of every document, and he was always there. The Kibaki read all the documents, by the way. So when he went there, he would ask the right questions, and he was very careful not to unduly interfere with the budget of the country by introducing things that were very unnecessary. And you remember when we were there, he made us drive Passats. He didn't want us to drive these luxury cars.
How long did that last?
Well, as you know, it lasted actually. We had Passats to the very end. And he was very strict about it. And the media, remember, you helped us take responsibility and accountability. The word today is accountability. There are many leaders who find themselves in leadership without understanding why they're there.
Yeah.
They were thrust into there by some party nomination, thrust into there by lots of money and vote buying, thrust out of there by maybe a tribal game or a clanist game, a game, and they are there and have no real reason why they're there. And if you go there, and President Kibaki was one man who knew exactly why he wanted to be president. And he was practicing presidency even when he was not the president. He knew the economy as well as who should handle what docket. And he had his way of getting all of us to be responsible without being followed around. And as I say of him, when I was Minister for Information Communication, he never called me once to ask me to do any favor for his constituency or for his family or for anybody of his friends.
He never did?
Never did, for 5 years. But now we are in a context that requires probably for people to overpromise. We are in a generation, I don't know what the situation is, where you're required to say the things that you want to hear or what people want to hear, but you're not going to follow up with that. You know, and as I know now, anybody who's going to join the government now must deal with so many promises that have been made that must be delivered. Should they be delivered, or should just be rhetoric? And so it's a big challenge to be in a government of the day today. And I do empathize with the president of the moment, because he has a big task of delivering on what he has promised.
Yeah. The other thing, Madam CS, that people criticize the president about is micromanaging.
Spot on, Jeff. I was just going to take it from my senior here to say that the difference between a micromanager and a manager or a leader who empowers is day and night. Micromanage means you are disempowering and removing the delegation and the authority and responsibilities that you ought to delegate for you to focus on the big picture. Because if you micromanage, then it means you actually miss the big picture and the vision that you're supposed to be focusing on as a leader. An empowered team that you trust will be doing the right thing for as long as you have the guardrails. Don't go outside of these parameters. Is actually one that moves forward, brings forward innovation and a lot of creativity because they feel like you're part of it. We own the decisions that we are making. Micromanage, and I will wait for you to make the next call. The next tender, Jeff. Right? Why did you sack Poghisio? Do this. I'll wait. Meaning, therefore, my productivity will be less than half. But allow me, and like my colleague says here, when I joined cabinet, President Uhuru had very little instructions for me. And he said my priority is the youth agenda, the women agenda, public service, in that order. The budgets that you find in that ministry are humongous. I will look for more resources if they are appropriated well and that there is no seepage. So you hear me. I will not call to look for favors. If anybody comes using my name, don't, because I'm not going to send nobody. That money, Minister, is not yours. It is for the young people. I didn't need to be given anything beyond there. I mean, I can read now English and the strategies that were there. I have teams to consult, very effective teams that were there. And I didn't need to go back to refer. So I was so very empowered. I did my thing. I had fun. And we moved. That is when the youth agenda through the NYS 5-point actually moved. We did things and stuff that were never done previously. We had unemployed youth in literally 290 constituencies where we had youth working. acquiring life skills, acquiring skills that some of them right now, I go to the village and they come to me, look, I run that aggravate, and I feel very happy about that. We need to see some of this coming back. You're sorry about the promises that were made by the current government. I perhaps won't be too sorry, because they still have an opportunity of coming back to the public and saying, you know what, it is true we overpromised against the budget that's available and against the time that is left for us to come back to you. Can we renegotiate our social contract? Can we tell you the reality is that we are able to deliver only this, and can you endorse? But we are also promising you to do it in this manner and that manner, and we want you to hold us accountable. Trust us one more time. We've fallen once, but we are ready and willing. But to sit and still continue pretending that we can deliver on the manifesto that was used and waved around the country, I think we are living a lie. And what happens is that we then are widening the trust gap. Already it is there, and then we are now making it look a little bit interesting. And we are therefore inviting more noise and dissatisfaction by the same people who in 2026 you'll start visiting. And that is why it's become very interesting. You know, what happened with the passage of the finance bill before it was retracted? The noises that were at the ground level, if we had listened at that point and said, so do we renegotiate a new contract? I don't think that we would have seen the agencies move the way they moved and with the determination, which they still are having anyway, up to now. So we still have an opportunity, as opposed to sitting there and being sad and sorry. Come back and say, you know what, we are only human. Let's agree one more time, you know.
Yeah. Mr. Minister, it is said that the last cabinet, before they were sacked, they were scared to death of going to State House for those cabinet meetings. I mean, they would be shivering in their boots. Not because of the 8 a.m. call time, but, you know, they were made to feel intimidated. Is this going to change with this new one?
Well, Jeff, first of all, the first cabinet, if you look at it, was a reward cabinet. You were rewarding your political friends, and so you picked them from the campaign, literally, and even thereafter the parastatal chiefs and all those kinds of things followed the same trend, and of course it didn't help that they called it a private company, and it's a publicly listed company with shares, so that gave a little bit of fear. Because you know, by the way, as a president, you're also trying to show that to prove that you have authority over the people you have, and if they're just friends, people who are just friends, you can actually have that kind of influence on them. You know, when you can actually make them feel very small, make them feel like, you know, they have to keep the distance. And then, of course, the style also of leadership is very important. And I know that we have, as the president became younger than the previous presidents, they want to have a complete all the arms around every situation and take control of every situation. But
that's the micromanaging we're just talking about.
And that makes the minister feel inadequate. Yeah. Yeah, and then, so you have situations like that. Now the things are a mixture of ideologies and so on. We hope that it will stabilize that factor. But I don't know if it's going to stabilize, because the situation, the conditions of appointment is like I favored you, come. And so you have to come, and Jeff, the problem is when you come into a situation which you are not originally part of, you have issues adjusting yourself to it. Either you completely become a sycophant and go, you know, on your knees and you can't think for yourself because you don't know how these people lived and you don't know what's going to be expected of you. Or you're going to stand your ground and say, I am a minister and I'm going to do my job as a minister without fear or favor. The only problem is, and I don't understand how we have money to pay people called advisors to ministers. I don't even know how we get the money. When we were ministers, your PS was your advisor. You have officers already around you. When you demand that you get government to pay extra people to become your advisors, where is the money coming from? What are we looking at, Jeff? Are we living like we are a first world country? You know. So the other day I saw when they were saying cut down one, cut all of them off. You have enough advisors as a minister to actually run a ministry. In fact, the people who run the ministry are already there with you. So I do wish to say that the demands of the young people, of the Gen Zs in this country, should be taken into account. We should listen to them. We may not understand their language, but let's go down and say, what do you really mean by this? And that's communication.
Yeah.
You know,
Madam CS, we could have had a Gen Z nominee or millennial.
Well, we have one, Jeff.
Who?
The minister, the nominee to water, sanitation and irrigation.
How old is he?
I understand he's in the early 30s.
Okay.
I understand he's been an engineer in one of the projects in the coast.
Right.
And we have that. I'm sure we have a few other younger faces looking either young or really very young.
You don't mention
but let me propose.
Alfred Mutua.
No, he's your friend, he's my friend. Let me come back and say, I think that we moved on to the presidential system and failed to put the guardrails around what that meant for us through the Constitution 2010. And what I mean is to say, when my colleague here speaks about having an advisor, 1 or 2, 3 or even 4, I wouldn't say I'm guilty because I had 2 of them. And the reason I had them is because the minute we migrated to the presidential system of governance at that point, then really it comes with a package. As a cabinet minister, you're allowed to have, people from the private sector, for example, where you feel that there could be vulnerabilities or where you feel like you could have you infuse expertise for quick decision making and therefore be more efficient in terms of your making your decisions, in addition to what the competent technical people are putting it to you. And so there's nothing wrong about that if it brings in a business case that helps you to make decisions efficiently at the cabinet level. Number 1. Number 2, I just had this thought. So tomorrow we begin the vetting process. Inside 4 days, full cabinet, bang, we go and continue running business.
Yep.
When I compare these with corporates, and even where I've been in terms of parastatal as a CEO, there's no way you can vet somebody and decide that they are competent enough to run a whole department inside 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. No. And I think that we need to reorganize the framework to say, we are putting you on probation. You've been vetted, okay, good. You look good. You sound like you can speak good language, and of course you've been prepared by the technical guys. They are spending hours with you to tell you, say this, they ask you this. In my days, I'm aware that Parliament would even sneak questions. These are the questions they would be asking. So what vetting is this?
It's called Mwakenya.
Mwakenya, right?
Yeah,
so you suddenly are going to shine because, cameras will be there and will be looking prepared for the day. And, so we cannot say inside 2 hours, you're good for us. And that is why we ended up where we've been last 1 month. So my proposal would be, if good Kenyans in leadership today to make these decisions care to listen, let's allow a period of probation. If inside 3 months, 6 months, you ain't good for us, you ain't, after being given a proper work environment, not micromanaged, not intimidated, tools of trade, and you apply your competencies, inside 6 months, we are watching. We are going to checklist.
And if you don't perform?
Go home. I mean, that's where we are, not so.
Yeah.
There's always a place to go to, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that it will be unfair to think, for the Kenyans, for the public, we are going to judge competence and ability to deliver and make a difference inside 2 hours of where Mwakenya has already been shared with you. My thoughts. But on the other hand, coming forward and saying, so the bringing in of the experts or the advisors, what kind of competencies or what processes have they been taken through for us to say it is true they are bringing some unique value in a space where there's a shortage of either expertise, or it is in your core area you actually think you need somebody who understands some of those issues that you're trying to deliver on. Remember, if your vision is bringing in a bit of innovation, you also need to be given some skill sets that may not necessarily be within the department where you're sitting. And therefore, if that can be equated to additional efficiency, I don't see that there's any problem with that from where I sit.
Yeah. You know what, folks, I want to take a break, come back and talk about, so you just mentioned that you hit the nail on the head. Are some of these folks who are being nominated, are they taking in more, are they biting more than they can chew? Can they handle these ministries? It's a tough call, huh? It's a tough call. And also, will they get along with their colleagues, or it doesn't matter?
Tough.
It's going to be tough.
It matters.
Especially people who were abusing the president a few weeks ago. Now they're inside the tent.
I was going to challenge my colleague. Yeah. How can you put in a jug where there is water and then you put oil? cooking oil, salad oil.
Yeah.
What does that give you? Because that's literally the formula we are seeing, right?
But it's for survival.
You say
Political survival.
On that Mwakenya note, we're going to take a quick break, come back, plenty more ahead, folks. We'll talk about the vetting of the cabinet nominees starting tomorrow, Thursday, all the way to Sunday. Is it enough time? Are they up to the task? We'll see. We're talking to the experts. Former Minister Samuel Poghisio, former Cabinet Secretary Sicily Kariuki in the house. What are your thoughts? Keep tweeting at Koinange Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is JKLive. And welcome back to Jeff Koinange Live here at Citizen Television, here talking about the way forward in terms of effective leadership. As the cabinet nominees wait to be vetted starting Thursday all the way to Sunday, what are we looking out for? Well, who best to talk about this than former minister? I keep saying former, but you were minister. I don't know why I keep saying former. You were minister under Samuel Poghisio. You were minister. Yep. Sicily Kariuki, CS under President Uhuru Kenyatta. Look, this list of 22, you've all seen it. Minister, what do you think of the list?
Well, first of all...
Now, don't be kind, don't be diplomatic.
No. I mean, I'm just saying, first of all, it is, like my sister said, it is a very strange mix of ideologies and political parties and so on and so on. But it is meant to cure a situation. So you can't say what the priorities are. The priorities is to cure a situation.
It's like a Band-Aid or elastoplast?
Well, yeah, but for the time being, it must be cured. It must be seen to be cured. And so, whether it does the job or not. So, I'll wait to see. First of all, the list, as some of them shouldn't have come back because you've been dismissed, shouldn't have come back. Some of them are coming back to the same dockets where they were dismissed from. And that becomes very difficult. Very, very difficult for you to say, guys, I'm back, that kind of thing. There should be a way of saying, okay, maybe the people complain about this person. Can I move this person to another place and bring another person, new person? Maybe guys can deal with a new person. So those 6 or so who came back, I don't know how, I said 6 who came back, still have issues. The new ones who have been added also have issues. And so I think the burden of proof is whether the vetting process in Parliament is actually steady enough, credible enough to make sure that we get the people that we want. Is Parliament able to say, hey, you, we have noted this and that, we have this against you and this against you, and we can't pass you? Or is it going to be a case of saying, okay, all of you go through because it has been said that you go through?
And Parliament is a rubber stamp, so they're going to prove.
That is the unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
But if they were to say, because some of the questions, this is not an exam where you think if you pass, then you have passed. If you pass our questions, you pass the integrity test. Is that true? No. If you pass our questions and you have a case pending, maybe a corruption case pending, do our questions sanitize you so that we don't have to hold you to account? No. So I'm looking forward to this vetting committee, this appointments committee, in being truthful to themselves and give Kenyan the people who are going to be credible as they serve us as ministers.
Madam CS, do you agree?
Not really, because my proposal is that, I agree halfway, because I say the burden of proof is going to be on the nominees once they have been given the green line to actually go and serve Kenyans, which they will. For reasons that I shared previously. They will, because you've just noted that there's a lot of rubber stamping, there's a lot of more Kenyaism. Yeah. In last season, there was a lot of money changing hands. Some of the members of parliament did confirm that, yes, they do receive this, it's tea, little tea, to make a certain decision.
Little tea.
In a certain direction.
Yeah.
But my proposal is coming in a bit too late in the day. 2 hours isn't sufficient for me to know whether you're good for delivery or you are not good for delivery. 2 hours is not good enough for me to know what character and what motivates you and what value system you carry. I'm going back again to the leadership formula for an effective leader who will make a difference. 20% competence. The MPs tomorrow could tell us you're competent because they'll look at your papers, where you've been in terms of your experience, how you're able to communicate, that they'll be looking at 20% only. How are we going to hold you accountable for the 80% in terms of character, integrity? It must be, our institutions must wake up to begin to do a proper job. The minute I am fingered like this, in terms of matters integrity, you're moving around, carrying dollars that you don't know the source of. You're going to answer for that, and answer real fast. Character. In terms of accountability, when you come and speak to the Kenyan population who put you in office, as if they don't matter, are you good for us in terms of character? Question, we hold you accountable, you're good for exit. Issues of how you engage with the people that put you in office, don't care, So it's a lot more than just the 2 hours that we'll be looking at you in terms of what we view to be competence. There's so much more that is underlying there. Yeah. And I think that we need to allow the candidates to go through the processes tomorrow. And obviously some of them already, there are red flags that are being raised from different quarters, but allow us inside another 3 months, 6 months to be able to come and say, so you're given a chance, whether it is the first chance or the second chance, how have you performed and delivered for us? And I think Kenyans must be given that opportunity to now begin actually vetting and saying, because of 1, 2, 3 quantifiable claims, we don't think you're good for us at the cabinet level. And I think we need to move our governance framework to a level that the social contract is not just between you and your appointing authority, in this case being the president. It must also be with the people of this republic, in my view. Mr.
Minister, you were there when we promulgated the Constitution 2010. You guys were there fighting for it, and it was overwhelming. I think it was, 72 to 30? It was overwhelming. Chapter 6. We always keep ignoring Chapter 6. I mean, what is the use of us electing thug after thug after thug? Not all of them, but they're there, and we keep electing them, and they slide through.
Where does the blame go?
Us?
Us.
We get what we deserve?
We have seen the enemy, and it's us. Look at the people that we brought, and I was looking at some of them. When they go to the Senate or to the National Assembly, can't express themselves in any language. But they are there. They have been elected by the people. Some of them absolutely don't even say a word for 5 years. And yet the role of a member of parliament, a senator, is those 3 things that you've been told to come. So, representation, legislation, oversight. Now, if you don't say anything, you don't study, you don't read, you don't try to comprehend things as they are, you end up sitting there because you didn't understand the reason why you came. And that's what I was trying to refer to. You have no idea why you're a member of parliament. And our people, when you go home, excite them with money, because that's what that brought you to the house.
They call you Mohesh.
They rally around. They forget their problems when you come around. I remember one member of parliament who, when he goes to church, the priest has to ask him not to leave early. Because when he leaves early, the church gets empty. Everybody runs after the MP. So you have to beg him, please, if you come, stay. Don't leave.
Stay the full service.
Stay the full service. And it's the same thing when they go to a funeral.
Yeah.
As soon as they get out, you see half of the hall going. That is us. And that's where we have to blame ourselves. And I hope really that the young people today are saying that is what's killing this country. Let's move away from that and go into accountability. So, apart from giving me money, what have you done for us? This thing called the CDF, which CDF is really not meant to be a personal property of a member of parliament, but that's how they treat it. They label the thing that this was done by Poghisio, as if it is Poghisio's money, And so we have no sense of a community, no sense of nationalism, and the real doing the things we want to show that it is me rather than the country. So yes, tomorrow is a test, whether under Speaker Wetangula, that committee. The only thing I remember people being asked is, what is your net value? And I don't know how that helps anybody.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah.
And so everybody creates a number. You know. I wish 2 years later you can revisit that net value.
Net value.
Where have you been since that time?
Yeah.
How come now you're a billionaire in 2 years? What happened, Jeff, in 2 years? What business did you do? What did you export? You know, so that what did you sell? I mean, you know, you have to sell all Pokot cows to get that kind of money. So what is it that why have we made it easy to steal from the public? And I think that's the accountability that these young people are trying to say. Yeah.
And Madam CS, look, there's no shortage of leaders in this country.
Absolutely not. Yeah. I mean, look at Kenya. We are exporting a lot of competent personnel in the continent and outside of the continent, really. Well-mannered, well-schooled, absolutely competent, with good character. They're out there, and they're enough in country, even today as we speak to you. But again, it's a club. You know, the more you are not too well-mannered, the more you coalesce around each other, and the more you seem to work together. Yeah. Dare you have a dissenting voice, then you will be shown the door. But I keep saying there is a price to pay the minute you decide to be the dissenting voice, because some of us must be that voice. But I also think that our independent institutions must wake up to deliver on the mandate for which they exist. Because that is where we are being let down. When you speak about net worth tomorrow, and then inside 2 years it is moved like this. Every year you are required to file returns. And we did in our days. But nobody follows to even interrogate whether there was a change in the positive, in the negative, major, significant. Nobody follows. You file and you sit. Because the institution responsible to monitor is in bed. And they're earning a salary, and they're having a four-wheel drive vehicle, and they have security, and they are comfortable. It is not acceptable. So it is not just the executive or the parliament we are looking at. We're actually looking at the institutions that were supposed to help us in oversighting stuff under the Constitution. You ask about Chapter 6. Chapter 6, and I mentioned earlier on, the challenge that we have is that Katiba 2010 moved so quickly into implementation without safeguards, without enabling guidelines and regulations. For example, when we devolved some of the stuff that was devolved to the counties, a lot of it walked on its feet without parameters of what accountability would look like. That is why things like own source revenue, it is you, the governor, who decides how you appropriate that. Whether it comes down by 50%, nobody holds you accountable to say, what happened? There was a spread here. Where did those resources go to? So we moved and rushed things. We didn't unpack to have proper guidelines and a clear understanding. We didn't say you can't have budgets and an office of the first lady or the first gentleman in the county. Because what is their role? What is their job description? So, but I think that we are at a turning point. Kenya will never be the same again. Because again, the excesses that you have seen, that you are being told now stop, start when we think we are comfortable with you. That movement is going to hit even the counties at that level. That movement is going to hit the independent institutions as well. And I can only be sorry for the security apparatus, because I think they're going to be a bit busy as we go forward. Yes.
You know, we were speaking to Senator Richard Onyonka this morning on the radio, and he said something really funny. He said MPs are so scared now. They've left their SUVs, you know, their 4x4s at home, and they're driving Axios or whatever it is, or Vitzes or Proboxes. That's what they're driving now.
I saw one in Hacienda.
How did they look?
But ministers...
You are not sure, but they stepped out. There was a lot of security presence, but they even had to sneak in through the back door. And I loved going through the main door, you know, peaceful.
Yes.
My usual.
Yeah. You don't have to watch your back.
True. No, not at all. And I think that the reason I say Kenya will never be the same again is because even us who elect the masses will begin now to weigh people and look at different parameters in terms of, bring the money. I went and played at some point, and I was having a joke with my senior here, and I had, you brought us 100,000 only out of 2 million which was shared in Parliament. Take it back. You know?
Mr. Minister, you were saying?
I was saying, today ministers are not flying their flags.
Right.
And the sirens have gone silent. And the driving on the wrong side of the road is gone. It's not there.
Thanks to the Gen Zs.
Yeah, exactly. Which it should be the case, really. I mean, we should be careful how we spend the meager resources of a third world country. You know, when you see the increase in the number of motorcades, this is all living a lie. You're not living ourselves. So I think let's listen to alternative voices. Because if I come back with you, the rest of us, we've been together for so long, what new thing is coming to us? What change is going to happen in this country? This cabinet is just back to where we were. And we're pointing off our people, our generation, our people who have worked with us. We're bringing their problems with them, and we are just saying, this is Kenya, look at this. This is us. This is the new us.
Are we going to be in this same position a year from now, a year and a half from now?
If the alternative voices go silent, okay? But if we continue to have these voices raised, I think we'll become more careful. We will become more careful as a country, and I think we will actually begin to think of taking care of our monies better. It doesn't matter whom you bring right now. Okay, you bring a new person called Buddy to the treasury. It's what magic is it going to be there? But just a change for the sake of it. But our behavior at the table, the character that you are, is showing that even if you bring another person, nothing is going to change. Nothing.
Yeah, they say the more things change,
the more they remain the same. But I'm hopeful because the starting of a solution to any problem is admission that there is a problem. The president has confirmed to Kenyans that corruption continues to be a headache. I want to, applaud him for that. Now, the next thing is that how are you going to deal with that is a major problem that is cutting across the country. How are you going to resolve? Remember, it is in print. We are not about to forget because he said it loudly, not once, not twice. So resolve, and we'll keep watching how you're resolving. So I think that, again, I'm convinced we'll never be the same again. You can bring opposition into government, they can progress and attempt to do some magic and, deliver the commitments that they have made to Kenyans. Failing that, but issues of governance, issues of integrity, issues of bringing people because they belong, remember, they will be watched. And the same wave that we saw getting them out will be there because these guys are many and they're in their numbers, Jeff.
Yeah.
And even some of us who have children about that age, I mean, you saw the kind of children who are going out there. They are not rogue. They are not thugs. They are not from families where you think they completely are lacking, but they are saying everybody is lacking in terms of opportunity to grow, and everybody's future has been challenged.
And the best part about them is they're tribeless.
Absolutely.
Right?
And classless.
Classless.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's not a class issue.
No.
It's no longer the discussion that we had of haves and have-nots. No. The whole lot of them, it's Poghisio's son or grandson, it's my daughter, it's my son.
Yeah. Mine too.
So, yeah. So it's the momentum that has been built, and although the web could look like it's slowing down, I think that is a turning point for us as a people, as a country.
I was saying, when are we going to think, I am not worthy, I have my issues, and I'm not going for those interviews? I mean, when are we going to have a situation like that where for sure, okay, thank you, and thank you very much for appointing me, but I know I'm in a bad shape. I'm not coming. I'm not boarding.
Right. I'm not boarding.
So when are we going to,
Yeah.
So, and I think in this situation there are people like that. We should just come and say thank you, but not thank you.
Yeah. And reject it.
Of course. I mean.
Yeah.
That'll be the day.
That'll be the day when people actually say, I'm resigning. I've embarrassed the country, I've embarrassed my party, I've embarrassed my president, I'm resigning. When are we going to reach that point? Instead,
there's an easier way. There's an easier way, Senior.
Yeah.
I am ready for lighter duties, so I request
lighter duties.
I request to be excused.
Yes.
Oh, my health is failing me. I request to be excused, really. And I don't need
you don't have to say much.
To live in history.
Yes.
But I just may not take it.
It's not bad.
Unfortunately or fortunately, I've had a few people propose that, and they say, should that call come or should I see the name like this, I will politely go and say, you know, I really, really appreciate you for trusting me, but I ain't ready this season. I've heard
this season.
Yeah?
I've heard a lot of that.
Seriously?
I've heard a lot of that.
Oh.
Yeah.
So we're getting there.
We're getting there. We really are getting there. We really are getting there.
So there's hope.
Hope is not a strategy. I mean, we have to strategize about our survival. Hope is just a product of our expectations. But we can't strategize around hope. We need to say, are we not training ourselves to say no sometimes? But no, thank you. I'm not. For family reasons, that's what people say, for family reasons or for health reasons, I'm not able to join you. The reason being, and I see the excitement, people who have been nominated, excited. Some of them are actually abandoning their parliamentary seats. They have resigned now from their parliamentary seats to go for a contract of maybe 2-3 years. And I noticed, by the way, the president has protected, in his former cabinet, protected the people who gave up their seats in parliament. And those are the people who came back.
Correct.
And so maybe has assured them that you'll be protected from being sacked. The final straw that we think as a country that will break the camel's back is if this image of a broad-based cabinet does not change anything in the next 2 years. If we're going to see the same corruption, we're going to see the same theft, we're going to see the same disappearance of things, including, by the way, the excessive use of force against young people. If we don't see the change, if you're the one in charge of the interior or defense, whatever it is, please, you are the custodian. You are holding a whole country's image of how the world judges us. Today, we are being told by the UN Secretary General that you're using excessive force on your people. And this is what I'm saying. If nothing changes, then that is the straw that's going to break the camel's back. And trust will absolutely disappear. And as I said, if you define trust as a confident belief in someone, the confidence will disappear and the belief will disappear. And we're back to where we are today. And so I do really hope we can begin to rebuild trust. And one of the ways to rebuild trust, as my sister says, is if we can be clear in our communication, if we can have compassion among our people. But the biggest one, 80%, is character.
Yeah.
Of course, it's followed by competency. But the chunk is character. You can be a competent person of a poor character, of a bad character. You can be compassionate, but if your character is not. So clarity is very important. What are you telling these people who are the majority, then the 75% of our youth? What are you telling them? Are they clearly getting you? Is your message clear? Don't be like the young man who gave his mobile phone to the daughter and said in Swahili, "Kwenda weka kwa moto."
And
you saw that, yeah. And the girl went straight to the kitchen. I mean, it's not. You must communicate clearly.
Right.
Yeah. So right. I believe that we have a big test coming in the country. This is one of our biggest tests.
And Madam CS, you keep saying that Kenya will never be the same again. But you know, someone once said Kenyans are very short-sighted, or they have a short memory. Someone called it the warthog mentality. A warthog will see a lion, it'll take off, lion will chase it, and it'll outrun the lion for a couple of minutes, and then it'll stop and wonder, why was I running?
Perhaps that's for you and me, this age set. It cannot be my daughter or my son, and therefore that perhaps obtained at that point in time, I'm not so sure that it will obtain going forward. And I do interact with these young people quite a lot, right from my house to those that I worked with when I was their CS to the ones at the grassroots. It won't be the same, however desperate they may be. And that is why at this point, beyond hope, it is my ask that the leaders who are currently holding the country together and who are privileged to be the leader sitting must mind that we have only one Kenya, one country, a beautiful country, and that they must not again dig the hole beyond where it is right now, because then they will actually be cooking and asking for more problems going forward. And coming back to to the Kenya that has known stability, that has known some reasonable economic growth, that has known resilience, that even when we almost sinking, we were able to do takeoff. My ask is that they need to hold the country together. Differences notwithstanding, buying opposition onto their side notwithstanding, bringing the same cabinet back notwithstanding, they must do everything that it takes not to get us below where we are today.
Yeah, but Mr. Minister, recycling the cabinet, I mean, come on, it's not rocket science, huh?
Well, it isn't. It isn't, and we've talked about it. I've had a lot of grumbling and noises out there, and it is not right. It doesn't look good to anyone, even of an average mind.
Yeah.
It doesn't look good at all.
Mr. Minister, you agree?
It doesn't.
I agree, and the spotlight is on Parliament, especially the National Assembly. The spotlight is on Parliament. They are being watched. And of course, fortunately, we're all going to be probably glued to our TVs watching how they carry out these things.
We love the drama.
But what is the change that has come to this cabinet? What is the change? What is it that we see that's going to change our situation?
The more things change,
the more they remain the same.
Folks, I want to take a break, come back and read the feedback. There's plenty of feedback coming on our magic wall. We're going to do then get some closing thoughts going forward. We're speaking to stop myself. Minister during Kibaki's government, Samuel Poghisio, and Sicily Kariuki, Cabinet Secretary under President Uhuru Kenyatta. We'll talk about the way forward. What is leadership? What does it entail? Are we going to get this right at some point? Or is it one step forward, 3 steps backwards? What are your thoughts? Keep tweeting at Koinange Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is JKLive. JKLive takes a break. We'll be back with your feedback in a moment. And welcome back to Jeff Koinange Live. What a great conversation we're having. Open, candid. And yes, if it's painful, well, it is the truth. And the truth can be painful sometimes. Leadership, well, it's not for all of us. Sometimes we mess it up. Sometimes, well, it is what it is. Samuel Poghisio, minister during Kibaki's time, and Sicily Kariuki, CS during Uhuru's time, talking to us about leadership as we prepare for the vetting of the cabinet secretaries. What's it going to be like? Is it one step forward, many steps backwards? Is it, the more things change, the more they remain the same? I don't know. What are your thoughts? Let's go to the magic wall. What do you say? There's plenty of feedback that has come through, and thick and fast, coming in very thick and very fast. This is Hope Badero says, with a growing base of enlightened youth who have been empowered through emancipating education and exposure, we're inverting the pyramid of service, accountability, and responsibility. Leaders must be humble servants answerable to the populace. You were saying that, Madam CS?
Yes, I did.
Right?
Yes, I did.
Are we going to get to that point where it's not, it's not about me?
It's a matter of time, but the people who put public officers in office must also have mechanisms to recall, to hold them accountable, to monitor. But they must begin by putting the right people in offices, I think.
Mr. Minister, you agree?
I agree.
Right people in the offices.
The right people.
Is that going to happen in our lifetime, the three of us?
It's our lifetime is ahead of us. There's hope, and although that a new generation will come to lead, and then we might see we might see this.
All right. Simon Wandera says appointment of opposition leaders to the cabinet is unconstitutional and detrimental to the principles of good governance. Such actions not only undermine the essential system of checks and balances, but also erode public trust in government institutions. Well, Mr. Minister, your thoughts?
That is spot on.
Spot on.
Spot on. The constitutional balancing in the parliament is now lost. You know, you have basically raided the opposition literally to enhance maybe numbers for you to pass whatever you wanted to pass.
The president said this is a reflection of Kenya. Madam CS,
That's Kenya.
reflection of Kenya?
No. I mean, Kenya was there in 2022, and there was no reflection. That is a point at which you should have decided we want a broad-based kind of executive, so to speak. But the people, through the vote, had spoken. And so effectively what we're doing right now is negating what they spoke to because we want to cleanse some certain fundamental failures that have been flagged by the Gen Zs. That's what we are trying to do. Yeah.
Sir Nixon Dugira says, whatever it takes, the circle of cronyism, tribalism, and political horse trading in constitutional and public offices, which compromise considerations on suitability in terms of qualification, integrity, and/or proven leadership, must end. It's been there since 1963, right?
That's a lot of English there.
That's a lot of English there, but you know, he's spot on, Sir Nixon. He's spot on. Okello Mwalimu says, Jeff, I'd be very keen on getting the views of your bench on how a CS or a senior government official would feel upon sacking. Secondly, in their considered opinions, do they think the president gave previous CSs space to implement their policies, or did he micromanage them? Well, we talked about that second part already, right?
We did.
How about the first part? Keen on the views of your guests on how CS or a senior government official would feel upon sacking. Well, was anyone sacked during your time?
Well, actually, remember some people were actually suspended.
I remember.
Including the president.
The current president.
The current president.
Yes.
And many of the people that we see around today. It's not a very good feeling. And even the recent things will show you. You know, Jeff, when a minister is sacked, it's not just the minister who is exiting. There are so many hang-ons and people and staff that go out with him. And that is how painful it is. So a minister is not just himself. It's got people that will go out with him because the system allows you to bring in personal to yourself, people who are personal to yourself. So when you are removed, you go with them, and some of them have issues. You know, they have taken loans, they've stabilized and things like that. But that notwithstanding, it is a requirement that Chapter 6, which I think probably was suspended. I don't know when we suspended Chapter 6.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
exactly.
That by the time the president says, I'm sacking you, it must be based on something. And so when that has been broken, well, then you deserve to get out. You deserve to get out.
Remember when we were growing up, we used to listen to the 1 o'clock news. That was the news when we heard about the sackings. Remember? Yes. And your driver, wherever he was driving you, he would drop you off, and you'd have to find your way home if you were a minister.
Jeff, the minute you are a minister, the contract goes as follows. You are candidate to be sacked in the night or in the morning or even at midday. That is how your contract goes. That's true in my times. That's true in your times.
Same.
Which then requires for you to be that much careful because you know the risk is that high. But now we have interpreted that risk into dipping and stealing because we could go tonight, which is the unfortunate thing. In an ideal situation, and a lot of the times it's not ideal because by the time the president is sacking you or relieving you of your duties, it must be critical. It must be, some mess.
Yeah.
It's for you to be asked to actually tender your resignation, and so that you can go with that level of dignity. But I think what we are being told, because this is likely to continue because this is the nature of this business, it's for you to be careful, mind your business, you know. Go resign if you think you've gotten to a point that you want to resign to pursue other interests, like one Sicily Kariuki did. I mean, it's not a matter of life and death. You don't have to be a minister. It's not a matter of life.
You walk away.
I mean, when the time is up, don't overstay your welcome. If you think you have caused some certain mess, don't overstay your welcome.
But that
waiting
flag,
to be sacked.
that flag is intoxicating.
Well,
and the sirens and the chase cars.
That's why I referred you to a syndrome called the Hebrew syndrome. It's affecting a lot of leaders. Public, private, especially when you think you're successful, when you think you know it all, when you become inadvisable. That is a disease we are suffering from. The minute you allow it to get into your brain, then be ready to leave one morning through a sack. Don't be too hurt.
Nice. Nyantika Chesla says, ain't upbeat and optimistic as regards to the latest government appointments. Political tokenism, rewarding of sycophants and opponents to calm down the situation is still the order of the day. What necessitated the change of name from minister to cabinet secretary? Yeah, why did they change that, by the way?
Well, it's when we moved to the presidential system away from the parliamentary system. It goes with the jurisdiction. Yes.
Okay.
But that, not only that, I mean, it was in the Constitution.
Right.
2010. So that's the name changed in the Constitution.
Yeah, but the same thing, tomato, tomato.
That's correct. It is still. Spelling is the same.
There you go. Joseph Muikia says, ask Poghisio, I used to hear him when I was a kid. What does he take to remain fit and young looking? Is there a recipe for leadership? It seems one gets dumped in a pool and learns while in it. So let's give people space to prove themselves. All right, first part. He used to watch you as a kid.
Well, I'm glad. I hope that you can learn something. When I'm not in office, like currently I'm not in office, I live my life as simply as I can be, okay? Yeah. And I begin to concentrate on things that are important to me. My family, my farm, my livestock. I go back to basics, and I allow the other people to do their job.
And you love it.
And I enjoy it. Plus, leadership is not something that you just get excited about. It's if you take it as a burden thrown to you, you must be able to carry it. And when you are asked to hand over to somebody else, do that. I'm still in touch with the people of West Pokot. I can still go back to them and say, I can serve you even better. But at the moment, I said, my goodness, let me enjoy this freedom. This I feel great. So, and I don't understand how, by the way, it's a big burden. When I was in office, the pressure was so high on me. I think my family missed me a lot. As a father, my young Gen Zs are telling me right now, say, you are not there for us. When the school visitation time were, where were you? And I'm saying, let me play catch up. Let me, I have a granddaughter I need to go and see, and so I travel wherever they are so that I can go and see how it is to become just a grandfather, and so I do please tell the young man the recipe is, of course, and of course I try to take a bit of sports seriously.
What sports?
Play golf, and basically be able to walk a lot. My age now requires that I walk a lot. I'm a senior citizen.
Tell me something.
Yes.
Peace in West Pokot.
Yeah.
I mean, it took a long time, huh? It took a long time, and probably a hard work that we'll never know. You may have to write a book about it, or something about it, because that's one place that nobody ever thought would be peaceful in the end, and it's not over yet.
It's not.
Right?
It's not. Far from it. Far from it. And the approach we are using, Jeff, is wanting. And one of these days, I can do a whole thesis on cattle rustling, its effects, and what we can do to help get it back. Because it involves, many people don't know Kachaliba. Kachaliba at one time was in Uganda. Kachaliba actually was left in Uganda when Kenya got independence. Coming from a small community, Jeff, if you give me a job today as minister, I'll serve you so diligently because I know it's not like I'm entitled to it. You know, I saw a young lady from Turkana now being nominated. And I know, knowing that she's from that community, she will work so diligently because to prove that even when you're from a small community, you can actually, you know, reach a certain level. And Kenyans need to start thinking seriously, consider people from small communities in leadership positions. They don't bring too much baggage. They'll be able to balance out the country. And so let us think about opportunities given to this lady called, for example, she's ASCOOL, nominated now for, I think, East Africa Community. I really wish her well because she's going to enrich the park. Because before that, we saw 2 communities full in the cabinet. Now, at least you can say there's one person from there's one person, of course, we are yet to see one person for Pokot. But we will say there is somebody who has come out to try and balance out this thing. My situation is, when I was appointed minister, I wanted to work and literally work my tail off to serve this country, to prove. And we did prove in that ministry that we could actually bring a change.
Yeah. Despite Poghisio must go. Poghisio must go. All right, let's get some final thoughts going forward, folks. Madam Secretary, let's start with you going forward. Vetting starts tomorrow. Is it a formality? Is it a given? Will anything come out of it? Are we being so pessimistic as Kenyans, or do we hope for the best?
A mix of everything, and I think let the best take it like my brother says here. The lady who's been nominated, I don't know who she is. The AG nominee is a lady that I know and know that she's good at what she does. The lady from my neighborhood, CS Miano, who has been there and who was part of the team that was asked out, has been an excellent performer. And therefore, is not to say that we hold the whole lot condemned. It is to say, let the best get it. But let us also be given a chance as citizens of this country to watch how they perform going forward and not to condemn again the whole lot just because of the way they've been brought in. However, it is important the questions of where you're coming from and what motivates you to be there and who actually got you there. Those 2 parameters are important as we move forward to watch. Importantly, as you come in, because tomorrow's process through to Sunday, it's no rocket magic. It's most of them are likely to go through anyway. Please, if you get the opportunity, go out there, carry the burden of Kenyans, knowing that it is a privilege to serve. Know that Kenyans are watching. Like I say, it will never be the same again. The risk is a lot higher for you today to find yourself sitting as a cabinet minister or cabinet secretary. The risk is a lot higher. And it goes with you in terms of character. It doesn't matter, you know, how well you think you'll have been endowed by the time you leave, but it goes with your character, affects your family, affects us and the way we perceive you wherever else you will go. So I think it is only fair that we come back and again invite you to look at your character if you are going to have a sustainable leadership career, now in cabinet and outside of this cabinet. All the best. On the other hand, we wait for what the president has promised us in terms of other things, corruption being, for me, very, very important. Waiting on the Gen Zs and the millennials to keep the voice going, to keep the conversation going. Hopefully, you do not get to be targeted, that you actually get to be protected, to express yourselves. An effective leader encourages effective communication, listening and voicing and feedbacking, and that loop being complete is very important. And I hope that this is a cabinet we are going to be having. This is a president we will be seeing days going forward.
Thanks, Madam Secretary. Well done. Well said. Mr. Minister, you get the last word.
Well, I really want to wish the President the best during this time. It's going to be a very tough time. Look, you brought in a new cabinet, and at the same time, the President has announced his intention to be tough on corruption. And if there are people then who are there in this cabinet who are struggling about corruption issues, do we wait until the law is changed, or the president will act on that? And so that's a big challenge the president has. And it should go down. The president should make it really a desired end in this country, that if you are caught in this corruption thing, you go.
Yeah.
You don't sugarcoat it. People go. Because what they are doing is that damaging the economy and damaging the country. And for friendship's sake, let them go. I remember Moy and his vice president one time when he told him, hey, my friend, this is not about friendship. Okay? Friendship is other things, but this is not about friendship. And I do hope that the president can do that. Face these guys straight in the eye and say, if you get involved, I'm going to sack you. And you know, we have no quarrel with the president. He's struggling right now, but we hope and pray that he's going to get this country back on the table to the place where we can stabilize. But please listen to the young people of this country. Listen to these demonstrations. They're saying something to you. Listen to what they are demanding. I'm saying, just listen. Understand their fresh minds. Understand where they see. They are world citizens. They have ideas from other countries. They have ideas from other friends all over the world. They master the internet. They have, you know, an expanded brain because of the internet. And so bring them on board. You don't have to hire them, but bring them on board. Let them at least say what they want to say. And I want to wish the government and the cabinet and the president the best during this time. I know you are now about to give us a new set of cabinet. Let us see the difference. Let us actually see the difference in the economy, in security, in the way we deal with our people. I think that would be my advice to the president.
If they called you back, would you go?
Definitely I will go. If they call me back, but am I going to add any value? If I'm not going to add any value, why would I go, Jeff?
Madam Secretary, would you go?
Deep reflection. Deep reflection.
Is that yes or no?
I'm at a good station in life in terms of what I want to pursue and what I'm doing currently. I would only consider where I am guaranteed that I will have the leverage and the wiggle room to exercise leadership. I'm not convinced the current environment lends itself to that.
And that's
that's theory, Jeff, because the nominees are going tomorrow. That's theory. I think
absolutely. It's theory. It's fine. It's okay. You're allowed. Sicily, Kariuki, Samuel Poghisio, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Thanks for your insights. And thank you so much for being a part of JKLive, folks. I tell you, what a conversation. This is what we need going forward. I always keep saying this. Let's always keep talking, because the moment we stop talking is the moment we start fighting. And you don't want to go down that slippery slope. At the same time, hope the nominees will usher in a new Kenya, because like Madam Secretary said, Kenya will never be the same again. Let's hope so, for the better. Remember, if it's Wednesday, it's all about those 3 letters on the keyboard that follow each other. JKL. If you don't believe me, check your keyboard. Thanks so much for being a part of the show. Good night, good luck. God bless Kenya.